I think the deeper question I think is more than this is which paradigm of crypto is gonna win, right? First of all, you obviously kind of the proof of stake versus proof of work debate is kind of settled, and then there's obviously the EVM versus UTXO debate, which I think is a deeper problem because interoperability often when you hear it, it's interoperability within EVM, right? But it's relatively easy to achieve interoperability between EVM chains, and a lot of those problems are solved. And then there's like kind of general interoperability between UTXO and EVM and anything else. So I think, yeah, there's deeper kind of debates and technological like battles, so to speak.
Welcome to the ATX DAO Podcast, the hub for exploring the forefront of blockchain technology and Austin's Web3 community. Your hosts, Nick, Mason, Luke, and Ash, connect you with innovators within ATX DAO and beyond as we venture into the world of decentralized technology. So crack open a beer and join us for a front row seat to learn about the innovations and trends shaping our digital future. This is the ATX DAO Podcast.
Welcome back to another episode. We're hanging out here today with Vardo.
Hello.
Hi, Vardo.
Hey.
Welcome to the ATX DAO Podcast. We are going to dive into some stuff, but before we do that, tell us your full name and your role at Maestro where you're building stuff.
Sure, yeah. My name is Varderes Barsegyan. I'm a CTO and co-founder at Maestro.
Awesome. And walk us through your story a little bit. How'd you end up at Maestro? But we're always curious about how people got into crypto and went down this crazy rabbit hole.
Yeah, it's been quite the journey. I mean, we're building all through the bear market. If you assume that we're kind of transitioning out of the bear market, were you a crypto guy before the bear market? Yeah, we were kind of started Maestro deep in the bull market, like kind of peak of the bull market, I would say.
Okay.
So it started as a hobby project mid 2022.
Who got you into?
Sorry, mid 2021. I'm confusing years, but we were basically. I was a bioinformatics engineer at Freenome. It's a early stage cancer detection company, and me and my current co-founder were on the same team. His name is Marvin, and crypto was really interesting to us, and we wanted to, long story short, do something more than just invest in crypto. And we were kind of started an internal company group, like an interest group, and started to brainstorm ways we can get involved technically, rather than just invest our money into tokens. And a quick kind of win was run a validator, run a stake pool. And given that we're both like very kind of R&D driven, science driven people, I mean, we worked at Freenome, of all places. So those kinds of deeper problems about science and answering like questions about biology, like those types of questions interests us. That's what attracted us to that company. And so kind of naturally we navigated towards Cardano. Cardano is a very R&D driven and like research kind of driven, perhaps to its detriment, I would say sometimes.
We're gonna come back to that one.
Yeah, we'll come back to that. So it was like, well, what we can do while working at Freenome, we sparked up a stake pool and we called it Maestro, just brainstorm names. We were passionate about like education and teaching and like, and in that sense, so Maestro, being a kind of conductor of an orchestra is someone that like leads and teaches, right? So it was a bit driven by that. And we were just running a community stake pool. And we got really good at running Cardano nodes by doing that, just having to like upgrade it, maintain it. And eventually we got deeper into the community and this concept of ISPOs came about. And a project, I could explain what an ISPO is later.
Yeah. Could you just break down the acronyms because there's like a lexicon developed.
Well, I want to do an LE5 here in a minute on Cardano. Yeah. So
we're going to
come back to the acronyms. Yeah.
Yeah. So we basically a big project in the ecosystem had massive funding. This is deep bull market. They raised one of the projects in the ecosystem, not us, raised like over $4 million, and they wanted to run what is an ISPO, which essentially one of the things of that is involves being really good at running Cardano nodes. And they knew us and they hired us essentially as just like independent contractors to run these ISPO stake pools. And that essentially was like an immediately profitable thing for us and just being like a side gig. And so we decided to spin that off into a service, and we quit our jobs and we started Maestro as like a company, just me and Marvin, my co-founder. And eventually we became like go-to ISPO providers, and a lot of different projects in the ecosystem reached out through like the marketing of this other project. They heard about us. And for a while we were running stake pools for a bunch of projects. And we're like, well, we're really helping like bootstrap this network of Cardano. What can we do? Like, kind of, what can we go beyond? Can we go beyond just running stake pools? And I use stake pools and validators interchangeably. We could be more API provider. We can index the blockchain. We have all these nodes. We have all this blockchain data.
Yeah.
Let's index it, provide APIs for developers, and build a full end-to-end dApp developer platform rather than just like running nodes, rather than just only running nodes. And then that just kept evolving. We raised money from angels and some VCs, and we built a beta of the platform. Last March, we released the beta, and then June, we released like the full subscription-based self-service platform that's publicly available for anyone. And we're now just adding more products, and we're also expanding to other chains. So Cardano for us was like a really great starting point and a way to capture a market with the expertise that we had. And now we're ready to go beyond just Cardano and be API infra providers for other UTXO-based ecosystems, which I could talk about UTXO as well. But yeah, that's where we're at in a very short nutshell, I guess.
Dude, that is a killer background.
Yeah.
Like a lot of progress in a short amount of time. That's really impressive.
Yeah, you guys have gone really far, really fast. That founder fit between like people like defines that speed. And it seems like you guys have that founder fit really well.
Did you guys work on projects before you got together on the Cardano stuff?
Yeah, we were on the same team at Freenome.
Okay.
Freenome is doing well now. They're much more mature as a company. They're going through FDA approval for their colon cancer test. So there's a lot of really interesting problems we worked on there with Marvin. I was more on the bioinformatics side, and he was on the machine learning engineering side. Oh, so nice. I had to build data pipelines to then prepare that data for the machine learning pipelines that Marvin was working on. So we had a lot of work to do together on the same team.
So you guys were kind of naturally collaborating already.
Yeah, and
which is great. That's cool.
Yeah, and we're both like kind of diehard engineers. We were engineers our whole career. So we're both very technical people, he's definitely much more of like a public facing person now at Maestro, but he's very involved with the product. And, so it's really, for me, it's important that, like we do different things and we wear different hats, but we also wear a lot of the same hats. And I think having that technical kind of back and forth with your co-founder has really helped us build good products and that scale and users want to.
I mean, between Marvin and you, it's good that he's the face.
I mean, bro, I'd be the first to tell you that. I'm seeing my reflection on my phone, and it's horrible.
They say it's like choosing a spouse, so it sounds like you guys lucked out. No divorces in sight.
Well, he has a girlfriend, so. But no. In that sense, it's weird to say, but it is kind of true. It's like Maestro is kind of like our baby.
Yeah.
It was really, and then as time goes on, it's less likely to fail, right? Like there's a lot of risk, but initially you're like, this thing could fall apart any second.
Yeah. It's
like so many things can like take it down. A competitor like Alchemy or something. Alchemy's not really a competitor, but in that same kind of space of infra providers, Alchemy could decide we're going to invest, $10 million into providing APIs for Cardano. And like at that early stage, that would have been detrimental for us. Yeah. Right now, that would be harder for them to do, much harder, but it's really like raising some being. It's interesting.
But I was just going to say, I mean, like this is kind of like one of the things that we talk about in the podcast, right? Where we talk about like how founders come together and they make that journey. And that's really cool, right? Like it's rare to find people, and it's rare to find people that work well. And it's rare to find people that work well and are like also have the same risk appetite. So it's like, it's pretty amazing, right? Because we see that a lot where it's like people fall out because of like a umpteen number of reasons. But you have to have the same willingness to be like, yo, let's go balls to the fucking wall and just fucking do this. Let's send it.
I actually think the complementary risk appetite is something that's undervalued and not talked about enough.
Yeah.
Even in like pretty seasoned startup circles, because it can make such a difference in your day-to-day just attitude, right? Like, are we going to go for this or not? You know, and if somebody's hesitant or if they're pulling punches, like, you're just not going to get there.
Yes. And like that is like something amazing. Like I've had the pleasure of meeting Marvin, like just through a couple of calls, right? Through a lucky introduction through Vardo. And I'm looking forward to meeting him in Denver, or all of us will be at Denver, except for Nick is on the fence. Luke is on the fence.
Yes.
We need to red pill them into coming into Denver. Okay, guys.
Those edemas, dude.
Yes.
We'll get there later.
Yeah.
Coming up.
Exactly. Come to Denver
After the break.
But no, I'm just saying that, like, honestly, like it's amazing because there is a good balance there, and it's pretty cool. And like as Nick said, you guys came super fast. Like you traversed a lot of space in a very little amount of time, and that through building in the bear is like not fucking easy, right?
Yeah,
it's easy to lose confidence there.
Well, and I'm really impressed actually by just like how quickly you guys developed a perspective on the market, and you're expanding that really quickly, right? And you have a vision for the future, and I think that's actually really hard during the bear. Like as distracting as it is during the bull, during the bear, like you're fighting against all of this, you know, momentum that's moving against you, and just every day is upstream. So, you know, congrats to you guys.
And in the bear, I think you're constantly in a battle with yourself too,
100%.
Because you're every day you're waking up, you're like, is this worth it?
Yep.
You're having to actively convince yourself every day to push forward. Because you know, the bull market has its challenges too, and the challenge is like staying focused and like kind of carving out the distractions. But the bear market, it's like the reverse problem. You know, you have to like find sources of motivation, and you know, obviously Marvin and I have figured out a lot of like our issues, and we found a balance. But we had, you know, both of us are like super like alpha kind of people. I mean, I don't mean that in an aggressive way, but we're both like forward thinking. We want to get our way, and we had to like really work through